The phone rang at 2:17 a.m., and I swear my heart recognized the sound before my mind did. It wasn't loud. It wasn't urgent, but it cut through my sleep like a blade through silk. I opened my eyes slowly, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me. The room was dark, except for the thin orange glow leaking in from the streetlight outside my window. My body felt heavy. My bones ached the way they do when you've lived long enough to carry memories instead of dreams. The phone rang again. I reached for it with trembling fingers. "Mama speaking," I whispered, already afraid. There was breathing on the other end. Uneven. Nervous. "Mama, it's me. My son." I sat up instantly, the blanket falling from my shoulders. Fear rushed through me like cold water. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Did something happen?" Silence. The kind of silence that screams. I pressed the phone closer to my ear. "Talk to me. Are you hurt?" "No," he said quickly. "No, Mama. Everyone's fine. Everyone." That word bothered me. I swallowed. "Then why are you calling me in the middle of the night?" I heard footsteps, echoing, like he was walking back and forth in a hallway. I didn't know how else to say this. My stomach tightened. "Say what?" "It's about the wedding trip," he finally said. I closed my eyes. The trip. The destination wedding. The one I had paid for quietly, proudly, because a mother wants her son to start life without debt weighing him down. "What about it?" I asked softly. He exhaled. Long, heavy. "We had a discussion." "We." That word again. "With who?" I asked. "With everyone." My fingers curled around the edge of the bedsheet. I could feel my pulse in my ears. "And," I said. Another pause. "Mama, it might be better if you don't come." The words dropped slowly, carefully, like poison disguised as medicine. I laughed. A small, confused laugh. "Don't come where?" "To the hotel," he said. "To the wedding events." I waited for him to laugh. To say it was a joke. He didn't. "I don't understand," I said. "I already packed. I booked my leave. I paid." "I know," he interrupted. That hurt more than if he hadn't known. "You know," I repeated. "Then what is this?" He lowered his voice. "It's just complicated." "Nothing is complicated between a mother and her son," I said. I heard another sound then. A sharp inhale. A woman clearing her throat. My heart sank. She didn't whisper. She didn't hesitate. "She will ruin everything." I froze. That voice. My daughter-in-law's mother. "She's always emotional," the woman continued. "Always crying. This is supposed to be a happy time." I waited for my son to defend me. He didn't. "Mama," he said quietly, "please don't take it personally." "Personally? I gave birth to you," I said, my voice shaking now. "How else am I supposed to take it?" Silence again. I could feel the tears rising, but I forced them back. I would not cry in front of people who had already decided I was an inconvenience. "You said it would just be family," I continued. "You said you wanted me there." "I did," he replied. "Things changed." I nodded slowly, even though he couldn't see me. "Yes, things always change when money and pride enter the room." "So what are you saying?" I asked. He hesitated. "Maybe you can stay home. Watch the live stream." I laughed then, not because it was funny, because something inside me broke clean in half. "Watch my only son get married on a screen," I said. "After I raised you alone. After I paid for everything." "You didn't have to do that," he said. "But I did, because that's what mothers do." I stood up and walked to the window, pressing my forehead against the cool glass. "I sold my gold bangles," I whispered. "Did you know that?" He was quiet. "I worked overtime for months," I continued. "I skipped doctor appointments. I told myself it was worth it because my son would be happy." "Mama," he said weakly. "And now," I finished, "I'm being uninvited like a stranger." Another voice cut in, louder this time. "She's guilt-tripping you." This is why I said it was a bad idea. I felt something shift inside my chest. Not sadness. Something harder. Anger. "Put her on the phone," I said calmly. "No, Mama," my son said quickly. "Please." I smiled bitterly. "I understand," I said. "You've made your choice." Relief rushed into his voice. "Thank you for understanding." I closed my eyes. He didn't hear the final crack. "Just one thing," I said softly. "Yes." You do know the hotel is under my name, right? Silence. What? He asked. I booked it, I continued gently. The rooms, the banquet hall, the honeymoon suite. I could almost hear the blood draining from his face. You said it was a gift, he stammered. It was, I said. To you. I paused. And gifts can be taken back. His breathing quickened. Mama, let's not talk like this, he said. Oh, don't worry, I replied. I won't interfere. The call ended shortly after that. I stood there in the dark, phone still in my hand, staring at my reflection in the glass. I barely recognized the woman looking back at me. Her eyes were red, her mouth tight, but her spine was straight. I walked back to the bed and sat down slowly. The room felt different now. Heavier, quieter. I opened my email and scrolled through confirmations, transfers, receipts, my name, everywhere. They thought they had pushed me aside. They thought I was powerless. They forgot one thing. I was the foundation they were standing on. I whispered to myself, you wanted me gone. I smiled faintly. You should have waited until after the wedding. Because that night, while they slept peacefully, believing I was defeated, I made a call of my own. And once that call was made, there was no going back. And that was only the beginning. The wedding morning arrived smiling, as if nothing had happened. Sunlight poured through my curtains like forgiveness I hadn't asked for. Birds sang outside my window. Somewhere in the city, vendors shouted prices and life went on, completely unaware that a mother's heart had been quietly buried the night before. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. So this is how it feels, I thought, to be erased while still breathing. My phone buzzed on the bedside table. A message from my son. Good morning, Mama. Hope you slept well. I laughed under my breath. Slept well, as if he hadn't pushed a knife into my chest at 2:17 a.m., as if he hadn't chosen silence over loyalty. I didn't reply. Instead, I swung my legs out of bed and stood up slowly. My knees protested. My back ached, but something inside me felt strangely steady. I walked to the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back at me looked older than she had 2 days ago. Her hair was streaked with gray she hadn't noticed before. Her eyes were tired, but sharp. You raised a man, I told her softly. Now raise yourself. I showered, dressed carefully, not in mourning, not in anger, in dignity. A simple sari, soft color, clean lines, the kind of outfit a woman wears when she knows she will be remembered. My phone buzzed again. A picture this time. My son and his bride, smiling, wrapped in hotel robes, her mother standing between them like a proud general. Caption, getting ready. My fingers tightened around the phone. They were already at the hotel. My hotel. I took a deep breath and made the call I had planned all night. Good morning, I said calmly when the line connected. Yes, this is Nana May. Reservation number 8843. A pause. Yes, that's correct, the receptionist said. How can I help you, ma'am? I need to make a small adjustment, I replied. Her keyboard clicked. The primary booking holder is you, she said. You're authorized to make changes. I smiled. Perfect, I said. Please cancel all access for guests not listed under my name. Silence. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I want the rooms locked, I said gently. Immediately. Another pause. Longer. Ma'am, the wedding party is currently. I understand, I interrupted. But this is my reservation. My card. My authorization. Yes, of course, she said carefully. May I ask the reason? I stared out the window. They forgot who paid, I said. I'm reminding them. I hung up before she could respond. My phone exploded minutes later. Missed calls. Messages. One after another. Mama, what did you do? The room key stopped working. This is embarrassing. Call me now. I placed the phone face down on the table. For the first time in years, I took my time drinking my tea. At the hotel, chaos had already begun. I didn't see it yet, but I could imagine it clearly. My son standing at the front desk, his smile strained, his voice tight. There must be a mistake, he would say. We're the wedding party. The receptionist, polite but firm. I'm sorry, sir. The booking holder has restricted access. My daughter-in-law's mother crossing her arms. This is ridiculous, she would snap. Do you know who we are? The answer, finally, was no, and that terrified them. My phone buzzed again. I answered this time. "Mama," my son said, breathless. "What's going on?" I leaned back in my chair. "What do you mean?" I asked calmly. "The hotel says the rooms are locked," he said. "They're saying you did something." I hummed thoughtfully. "Oh," I said. "That." "Mama, please," he said. "People are watching." "People?" "Yes, that was the point." "Didn't you say I shouldn't come?" I asked. Silence. "Well," I continued, "I'm not there, so I can't ruin anything." His voice dropped. "This is not the time." I laughed softly. "You're right," I said. "It's your wedding day." Then I added, "Congratulations." The line went dead. An hour later, I arrived. Yes, I went. The lobby fell quiet the moment I stepped inside. I could feel eyes on me, whispers traveling faster than footsteps. There he was, my son, standing near the reception desk, his face pale, his suit wrinkled, his bride holding back tears, her mother red with fury. She saw me first. "You," she hissed. I walked forward slowly. "I was told not to come," I said gently, "but it seems I was needed." My son stared at me like he didn't recognize me. "Mama," he said, "please, fix this." I looked at him, really looked. The boy who once cried when I worked late. The man who couldn't stand up for me. "What exactly do you want me to fix?" I asked. The mother-in-law stepped forward. "You humiliated us," she snapped. "In front of everyone." I tilted my head. "You humiliated me first," I replied. Gasps. My son whispered, "Mama, don't do this." "Do what?" I asked. "Tell the truth." I turned to the receptionist. "Could you please confirm something for everyone?" I said calmly. She nodded nervously. "Who paid for this wedding?" Silence thickened the air. The receptionist cleared her throat. "The entire booking," she said, "was paid in full by Nana May." The room erupted. Whispers. Shock. Murmurs. My daughter-in-law stared at my son. "You said your mother was just helping," she said. He didn't answer. I stepped back. "I didn't come to ruin your day," I said softly. "I came to reclaim my dignity." I looked at my son one last time. "You left me behind," I said. "So, today, I walk away first." I turned, and as I did, I heard my son call my name. "Mama, wait." I paused, but I didn't turn back, because what he didn't know yet was that this was only the surface. The real secret hadn't even been revealed. And when it was, nothing would ever be the same again. The truth doesn't arrive screaming. It whispers. And by the time you hear it clearly, it's already too late. I didn't go home after leaving the hotel. I walked, past the parked cars, past the wedding banners flapping awkwardly in the breeze, past strangers who didn't know my name, but somehow knew my shame. Each step felt heavier than the last. Behind me, the hotel doors slid shut with a soft mechanical sigh, like the world politely closing a chapter. I sat on a bench across the street and stared at my hands. These hands had washed his clothes, cooked his meals, counted coins late at night so he could go to school without shame. And today, they were empty. My phone vibrated. I didn't need to look to know who it was, but I did anyway. "Mama, please come back." I exhaled slowly. Back where? Into disrespect? Into silence? Another message. "We need to talk." Alone. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Alone. That word felt strange coming from him now. I typed one sentence. "I will listen, not forgive." He replied immediately. "Thank you." We met somewhere neutral. A small cafe. Quiet. Smelling of coffee and old wood. The kind of place where secrets sit comfortably. He arrived late. Of course he did. He looked different. Smaller. The suit he'd worn so proudly that morning now hung loosely on his shoulders. His hair was undone. His eyes darted around like a child afraid of being scolded. He sat across from me. "Mama," he said softly. I didn't respond. He swallowed. "I didn't know how to handle it," he continued. "Everyone had expectations." I stirred my tea slowly. "Everyone except your mother," I said. He flinched. "I was trying to keep peace," he whispered. I looked up then. "Peace built on my silence?" I asked. "That's not peace. That's sacrifice." His eyes filled with tears. I felt nothing. Not coldness. Clarity. Mama, he said, voice cracking. There's something you don't know. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I said. Surprise me. He hesitated, then leaned forward. It wasn't my idea, he said, to exclude you. I waited. It was hers, he continued. And her mother. My jaw tightened. Why? I asked. He rubbed his face with both hands. They said you make people uncomfortable. I laughed bitterly. By existing? They said you remind them of poverty, he admitted. Of struggle. There it was. The real reason. Not emotions. Not tears. Class. Image. I took a deep breath. And you agreed, I said. He shook his head desperately. I didn't at first, he said. I fought. I swear I did. I leaned back. How long? I asked. He hesitated. A few weeks. Weeks. Of secret conversations. Of silent decisions. Of plans made without me. And then, I asked. He looked down. Then they showed me something. My fingers froze around the cup. What? I asked. He looked up. A letter. The cafe suddenly felt colder. What letter? I repeated. He hesitated again, then reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. Old, yellowed, familiar. My heart stopped. I recognized my own handwriting. My breath caught. Where did you get that? I asked. His voice dropped. Her mother found it, he said. Among your old documents. I stared at the envelope. This wasn't possible. I had hidden that. Burned it. Or so I thought. What does it say? I asked quietly. He slid it across the table. My hands trembled as I opened it. I didn't need to read it. I already knew. Because I wrote it 27 years ago. When I was younger. When I was terrified. When I was trying to protect him. The letter was addressed to a man who never showed up. A man my son had never met. A man whose name I had erased from our lives. His father. My son's voice shook. They said I deserved to know the truth. I closed my eyes. The cafe disappeared. I was back in that tiny room. Pregnant. Alone. Writing those words with shaking hands. I didn't lie to you, I said. I protected you. You said he died, my son whispered. He did, I replied. To us. Tears streamed down his face. They said you were ashamed, he said. That you hid him because he wasn't good enough. I slammed my hand on the table. I hid him because he was dangerous, I said sharply. People turned to look. I lowered my voice. He wanted nothing to do with you, I continued. He wanted me to get rid of you. My son's face went white. I chose you, I said. Every day. He stared at me. They used this letter, he whispered. They said you were manipulative, that you controlled me with guilt. I leaned forward. And you believed them, I said. He nodded slowly. Yes, that hurt more than anything else. Not the exclusion. Not the humiliation. The belief. I stood up. I carried that secret so you could walk proudly, I said. And today you used it to push me aside. Mama, please, he cried. I didn't know. I picked up my bag. You knew enough, I said. As I turned to leave, he spoke again. There's more, he said. I stopped. What? I asked. His voice was barely audible. They're planning to cut you out completely. I turned slowly. What do you mean? I asked. He swallowed. After the wedding, he said, they wanted me to distance myself. Distance. A polite word for abandonment. They said you're a liability. I nodded slowly. The final truth settled in. This wasn't just about a wedding. This was about erasing me. I smiled sadly. Thank you for telling me, I said. Mama. I'm glad I know, I interrupted. I walked out. But as I stepped into the sunlight, something else clicked into place. They thought they had exposed my secret. They had no idea. I was still holding one of my own. A secret that could destroy everything they were building. And when I finally decided to reveal it, no letter, no excuse, no tears would save them. Because some truths are not meant to heal. They are meant to end things. And that secret was about to come out. Betrayal doesn't knock. It slides in quietly, like a shadow you didn't notice until it's too late. I knew the day would come. I just didn't know it would feel like the world had collapsed in slow motion. After leaving the cafe, I walked the streets in silence. The city seemed oblivious. Horns honking, dogs barking, couples laughing in parks. And I, a mother whose child had just abandoned her emotionally, felt invisible. Like I was watching life from the wrong side of a glass. But then I received the call. The sound of my son's voice, panicked and trembling, pierced the quiet of my apartment. Mama, he said, you need to see this. You need to. Slow down, I interrupted. What happened now? Silence. His breathing. Uneven. Quick. Mama, the money. The wedding funds, they're gone. I froze. Gone. I felt my chest tighten, my heart thumping so loud I could hear it in my ears. Explain, I demanded, though my voice shook. It's her and her mother. They transferred everything. The honeymoon, the banquet, the hotel deposits, his words trailed off. I swallowed. My mind raced. All my hard work. Every sacrifice I had made. Every sleepless night counting coins gone in a blink. And you let them? I asked. My voice was calm but sharp, like ice over fire. I didn't know what to do, he admitted, his voice breaking. I pressed my lips together. Betrayal isn't just about actions. It's about complicity. I could feel it now. Their plotting, their whispers, the meetings without me. And my son, my own child, didn't stop them. I hung up and grabbed my coat. I needed to see it for myself, to touch the reality of what they had done. The taxi ride felt eternal. I stared out the window at passing faces, thinking, how many times in life do you get betrayed by the people you love most? The ones you thought would protect you. The ones you taught the meaning of care. I arrived at the hotel. The lobby was bustling with guests and wedding planners. I could see them from the entrance, my son, his bride, her mother, laughing as if the world owed them joy. I walked closer, my presence unnoticed at first. But then their laughter faltered. She's here, the mother-in-law hissed under her breath. I made no move to speak. I didn't need to. My silence carried a weight heavier than any scream. My son's eyes widened. For a moment, he looked like a scared child again. The same child who had clung to me during thunderstorms, trembling in fear. He stammered. But I didn't let him finish. I turned to the receptionist. Can I speak with the manager? I asked, calm, precise. Yes, ma'am, she replied, wary. The manager arrived promptly, a tall man with a nervous smile. How can I help you, ma'am? He asked. I held up my reservation papers. All of this, I said, pointing to the documents in my hand, belongs to me. Every penny, every booking, every arrangement. He glanced at my son and then at the mother-in-law. Yes, yes, ma'am. That is correct, he said carefully. The reservations were under your name. I smiled faintly, and that's when the first real shock hit them. The wedding party has no access to these rooms, I said, steady and clear. I am the primary guest. All keys are revoked. Any service request must go through me. I stepped back and let the words sink in. The mother-in-law turned red. You can't do this, she shouted. I laughed softly, and it was more terrifying than her scream. Oh, I already did, I said. My son's face crumpled. He looked like he wanted to crawl into the floor. I took a deep breath. This is what happens, I said, voice low but cutting, when you erase the person who paid for everything, who sacrificed everything from your lives. The room went quiet. Guests stopped moving. The wedding planners froze mid-conversation. And then she snapped. You'll regret this, the mother-in-law spat. You think just because you gave us money, you can control us. I smiled. A small, patient smile. Control. I repeated. No, I'm merely reminding you who made this possible. You humiliated us, she yelled. In front of everyone. You humiliated me first, I said, voice calm as a blade. I turned to my son. You were supposed to stand by me, I whispered. But you let them. Tears filled his eyes. Not from joy. Not from love. From shame. I didn't let him speak. I walked slowly down the hallway, letting my presence echo in the polished marble floors. Guests stared. Whispers rose. Some knew who I was. Some didn't. But all of them would remember. Then the first revelation hit me like a punch. The mother-in-law had moved money. All of it. Every booking fee. Every deposit. They thought they could erase me. I smiled to myself, because they hadn't counted on one thing. I had made backup arrangements weeks ago. Every transfer documented. Every account monitored. I had access to every financial record. And now, I held the power. My son whispered, "Mama, please." I shook my head. "No," I said. "You abandoned me. You left me behind. You thought I was powerless. And now I let the pause linger. You'll see what happens when you underestimate a mother." The mother-in-law gasped. She looked like a cornered animal. And in that moment, I realized betrayal is not just action. It's belief. The belief that someone cannot fight back. The belief that someone's love is weakness. The belief that a mother's patience is endless. It's cruel. It's selfish. And it's the perfect fuel for revenge. I stepped closer to my son. "I loved you enough to raise you," I said. "Now watch me love myself enough to stand up." His bride started to cry. This isn't fair," she shouted. I tilted my head. "Fair?" I asked softly. Life was never fair to me. But I survived, and now I will act. The hotel staff had gathered, unsure what to do. Guests whispered to each other, glancing between the mother-in-law's furious face and mine. The air was thick with tension, electricity you could almost touch. And then my son said something I didn't expect. "Mama, what are you going to do?" I smiled. It was a dangerous, slow smile, one that made him shiver. "Whatever I want," I said. "And you'll have to live with the choices you made today." The mother-in-law's eyes narrowed. "You'll ruin everything," she hissed. I took a deep breath. "Yes, I will, if it's the only way to remind you who's in charge here." Then I turned, walked slowly down the hallway. The whispers followed me, the gasps, the disbelief. I paused at the elevators, pressed the button, and as the doors closed behind me, I smiled quietly to myself. They thought they had betrayed me. They thought I had lost. But betrayal, true betrayal, is a spark. And tonight, that spark would become fire. And that fire would burn everything they had built. Confrontation doesn't wait for permission. It arrives, and when it does, everything shatters. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows across the hotel lobby. The wedding guests were scattered, some laughing nervously, others whispering rumors. But I didn't care. I walked in quietly, wearing a sari that whispered of dignity, not defeat. My eyes scanned the room until they landed on him, my son. He was standing near the reception desk, shoulders tense, suit disheveled, face pale. His bride stood beside him, holding onto his arm as if he were her only anchor. And there she was, her mother, the orchestrator of my humiliation, eyes narrowing the moment she saw me. I stopped a few steps away, letting the silence grow heavy. "You've been busy," I said softly, planning, manipulating, making sure I stayed in the shadows. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "You thought you could erase me," I continued, my voice low, deliberate. "But some debts cannot be forgotten." My son swallowed hard. "Mama, please not here, not like this." "Oh, I've been here for years," I said, my eyes scanning the crowd. Invisible, silent, supporting, paying, loving. And yet today I am seen. Tears started streaming down my face, not of sorrow, but of fury, betrayal, and heartbreak. "You abandoned me," I whispered. "You let them erase my presence. You left me behind when I gave everything for you." The mother-in-law took a step forward. "Don't speak to me like that." I turned slowly to face her. "Speak? Oh, I'll speak. Because tonight, the truth will echo through this building, and you will feel the weight of every lie, every betrayal." My son looked down, ashamed. "Mama, I didn't want this. Didn't want it?" I asked, voice rising. "You did nothing. You let it happen. You watched your mother, the woman who raised you, be treated like she was nothing." The guests were staring now. Whispers rippled like wildfire. Her mother sneered. "You think money can save you? You think your wealth gives you the right to humiliate us?" I smiled faintly. "Money? No. My love for my son. Perhaps. My patience that turned into power? Definitely." She froze. I took another step closer to my son. "Do you remember when you were 10, how you cried because you didn't want to leave school for extra classes?" I asked. "I told you it was for your future. You fought. You resisted. But I held your hand and guided you. I carried you through your struggles. And today you carry their lies over me." His shoulders shook. He couldn't meet my eyes. The mother-in-law huffed, turning to him. Explain yourself, she demanded. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. No, today you don't get to explain. Today you witness. I raised my hand. My phone lit up the screen with bank transfers, confirmations, hotel bookings, all proof of my sacrifices. I held it high for all to see. This, I said, voice echoing, is not just money. This is blood, sweat, and tears. Every penny, every sleepless night, every sacrifice I made for you. Ignored, dismissed, erased. But now you see it. The mother-in-law staggered back, gasping. You can't. I pressed further. Oh, but I can. I can lock the rooms. I can restrict services. I can remind you of what you owe and what you took for granted. You wanted to humiliate me? Fine. But humiliation is a two-way street. My son looked like he wanted to disappear. His bride started sobbing quietly. You betrayed your own mother, I said softly, and yet you act surprised that life holds consequences. Whispers became murmurs. Gasps became audible. The lobby was tense, electric, every eye on the confrontation. You've been living in a fantasy, I continued. A world where I am weak, where I am nothing, where my love is your silence. But today reality hits. And it hits hard. The mother-in-law tried to interrupt again, but I raised my hand. Silence. I will not be silent. I will not be invisible. And I will not be disrespected. I stepped closer, so close that my son could feel my presence. I am your mother. I raised you. I sacrificed for you. And today you all see me, not the shadow, not the ghost, not the background character. Me, the woman who gave you everything. He whispered, barely audible, Mama, please. I looked at him. His pain pierced me, but it was tainted by betrayal. You wanted to erase me, I said softly, and you did. You let them. But today, I am alive. I am standing. And you will live with this. A gasp rose from the crowd as I turned back to the mother-in-law. This isn't revenge, I said calmly. This is truth. And the truth is heavier than anything you can fabricate. Her face twisted in anger, disbelief, and fear. You'll pay for this, she spat. I've already paid, I replied, eyes fierce. With love, with patience, with my life. And now it's your turn to feel. She stumbled back, tripping over a chair. Guests murmured, shocked at the display. My son's bride covered her mouth, horrified, realizing the power I held, not just financially, but emotionally, morally, and socially. I stepped forward, voice low but cutting. Do you understand now? Betrayal has consequences, and tonight you're witnessing them firsthand. Silence fell over the lobby. I looked at my son one last time. I didn't come here to punish you, I said. I came to make sure you understand. That love ignored is a force that cannot be broken. And as I walked out of the lobby, leaving stunned silence in my wake, I felt a calm, dangerous satisfaction. They thought this was over. They thought humiliation was one-sided. They were wrong, because the real reckoning had only just begun. And it would be a storm no one could escape. Some truths aren't meant to be spoken. They linger in shadows, waiting. And when they finally step into the light, they burn everything in their path. After the confrontation at the hotel lobby, I didn't return home. I wandered the streets, letting the cool evening air settle around me. The city lights reflected off wet asphalt from the earlier rain, shimmering like broken promises. I could feel it in my chest, the weight of the betrayal, the humiliation, the fury. But beneath all that, another feeling stirred. A secret, the one I had carried for decades. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about the wedding. It was bigger, older, deadlier. I stopped at a small bridge overlooking the river. The water flowed quietly, endlessly. I rested my hands on the railing, staring at my reflection in the moving surface. It was me, older, tired, but sharp, dangerous, alive. I whispered to myself, they think they know me. They don't. The phone vibrated in my pocket. My son. Mama, please. Can we meet? I need to understand. I need you to explain. I smiled faintly. He didn't need explanation. Not yet. But he would. I arrived at a quiet park the next morning. Sunlight filtered through bare trees, casting long shadows. I saw him sitting on a bench, head in his hands. He looked smaller, fragile, vulnerable in a way only a mother truly recognizes. "Mama," he said without looking up, "please, I need you. I need the truth." I sat beside him, calm, almost serene. "The truth," I said softly, "is not simple. It's never simple, and it's never without cost." He looked up, his eyes pleading. "I'll bear it," he whispered. I shook my head. "No, my son, you'll only begin to understand. And even then it will hurt you. But you need to hear it. You need to see why your father, why he disappeared, why I made the choices I made." I took a deep breath. "Your father, your biological father, was not a man who deserved you, or me, or love. He was dangerous." His brow furrowed. "Dangerous how?" I paused, choosing each word. "Dangerous in ways you could not have known at your age. He was cruel. He was manipulative. He wanted to use me, use us. I realized when you were just a baby that if I didn't protect you, he would destroy you." He shook his head slowly. "I thought you said he died." "I did not lie," I said firmly. "I protected you. I created a story. I hid him, not because I wanted to erase him, but because I had to erase his presence to save yours." His face twisted with a mixture of anger and confusion. "You mean everything I believed, everything I longed to know about him was a lie?" "No," I whispered. "Not a lie. A shield." He leaned back, stunned, his hands trembling. "And the letter?" he asked. I met his gaze. "That letter. It was meant to prepare you for a world you would never face until you were ready. It was a key, a warning, and now they used it against us." He whispered, horrified. They knew. They manipulated it." I nodded. "Yes, they took my most private truth and twisted it. To shame us, to erase me, to make me powerless. But here's the thing. They forgot who they were dealing with." His eyes searched mine. "Mama, what do you mean?" I leaned forward, voice low and deliberate. "I'm not powerless. I never was, and I never will be. They may have taken the money. They may have tried to humiliate me. But the real power, the real truth, is in knowledge, in patience, in secrets that hold consequences they cannot imagine." He looked away, trembling. "And you're going to use it?" I smiled faintly, a dangerous glimmer in my eyes. "I already have." He looked at me, voice cracking. "Mama, I'm scared." "Good," I said softly. "You should be, because now you understand what betrayal costs, and what it awakens in the heart of a mother." I rose, walking slowly, letting the silence stretch. "Remember, my son, you were raised by someone who had nothing but love to give. And when that love is ignored, it transforms. It becomes action. It becomes power. It becomes justice." His hands clenched. "Mama, I'm sorry. I should have stood by you." "You should have," I replied, voice steady. "But regrets are useless. Only action matters now." I paused at the edge of the park, looking down at the flowing river. "They will never see it coming," I said. "The truth I carry, the secret I protected, it will shift everything. Destroy everything they thought was safe. And by the time they understand, it will be too late." He stood, eyes wide. "Mama, this is too much." I shook my head. "No, this is exactly enough. Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that save you." He looked at me, trembling. "And what about us? Our family?" I smiled faintly, almost sadly. "Family is what you protect. And when they betray you, family can either rise or fall. I chose to rise, and so will you." I took a step back, letting him absorb my words. "You will see," I continued. "Tonight, they will understand. And when they do, there will be no turning back." The wind blew softly, carrying the scent of rain from the night before. The river below reflected the sunlight like shattered glass. And in that reflection, I saw the face of a mother who had carried secrets, pain, and love for decades. A mother who had been ignored, betrayed, and underestimated. But now she was ready. The hidden truth was no longer hidden. And the next step would be explosive. Tears don't always fall quietly. Sometimes they roar. Sometimes they shatter the walls you've built around yourself. The day after I revealed the hidden truth, the house was a war zone. Not with fists, but with words, gasps, stares, whispers that carried like fire through dry grass. I arrived quietly as always, dressed simply, but with a presence that could not be ignored. The air was thick. You could cut it with a knife. My son was in the living room, pacing like a caged animal. His hands ran through his hair. His eyes darted to every corner. His bride sat on the couch, hands clasped, trembling. Her mother hovered nearby, glaring at me like I was a ghost she could not exorcise. I took a slow step forward. "You've been quiet," I said softly. They looked up, startled. "You're afraid," I continued. "Afraid of the consequences of what you've done. Afraid of the truth you chose to ignore." The mother-in-law snapped. "You don't scare me." I smiled faintly, a cold, deliberate smile. "No. Then why do I feel the tension crawling off you?" Her jaw tightened. "This is insane. You're overreacting." I shook my head. "Overreacting? No. I'm responding to betrayal. You stole from your own family, humiliated me publicly, and now you're angry because I reminded you of reality?" My son buried his face in his hands. "Mama, I didn't know what to do," he whispered. I tried to stop her, but you didn't," I finished for him. "No," he admitted. "I didn't. I stepped closer. Do you understand now? How your silence made you complicit. How it allowed her cruelty to grow unchecked." He nodded slowly, shame written across every line of his face. Then, suddenly, the mother-in-law erupted. You're destroying my daughter's happiness," she screamed. "Her happiness?" I echoed. Her happiness was built on lies, manipulation, and my silence. The bride began to sob quietly. "Mama," she whispered, "please don't." I held up my hand. "Sure, let me speak." "You think you know what love is," I said, voice trembling with controlled fury, "but you don't. Love is sacrifice. Love is patience. Love is giving everything, even when it is ignored. And you used it as a weapon against me, against my family, against the son you claimed to love." Tears streamed down my face, not tears of weakness, but of power, of heartbreak, of fury. The room was silent. Even the walls seemed to lean in. "You think you've hurt me?" I asked softly. "You've only awakened me. You've only reminded me of what I am capable of." My son's voice cracked. "Mama, you should have protected me," I interrupted. "You should have stood up. You should have remembered who raised you, who gave you everything, who believed in you when no one else did." He looked at me, eyes wide. "I know. I failed you. And now?" I asked, "Do you want forgiveness?" He shook his head. "No. I want to make it right. Somehow." I laughed softly, bitterly. "Make it right? You think it's that simple?" The mother-in-law gasped. "You're insane." I smiled faintly. "Insane? Maybe. But sane enough to remember everything you tried to erase." The room felt like it was closing in, the air thick with tension, guilt, shame, and fear. Then, the first cracks began to show. The bride looked at her mother. "Why didn't you stop this?" she whispered. Her mother froze. I pressed further. "Yes, you manipulated, lied, and orchestrated humiliation. And now, you cannot hide behind your daughter or my son. You are exposed, and the world knows it." The mother-in-law's hands trembled. I didn't think." "You didn't think," I echoed. "Exactly. And that's why it hurts. Because I thought you had decency. I thought you had compassion. But greed and pride blinded you." My son looked at me, eyes brimming with tears. "Mama, I never realized." "No," I said. "You realized too late. And now you feel the weight of that mistake. That betrayal. That silence." The room was silent. Even the servants had stopped moving, listening, frozen. I sat slowly in a chair, leaning forward, letting my hands rest on my knees. "Let me tell you something," I said softly, almost whispering. "Pain teaches you. Betrayal teaches you. But remorse teaches you nothing unless accompanied by action. And action is what comes next." Her mother's face twisted. "Action? What are you talking about?" I leaned back, letting the silence stretch. "Do you really want to know?" She swallowed hard. I don't know what you mean. I smiled faintly. Tonight, the truth you tried to bury will surface. The consequences of your actions will follow. And when they do, you will understand the cost of betrayal. The bride began to cry openly. Mama, please forgive us. I shook my head slowly. Forgive? No. Understanding, perhaps. Forgive? Not yet. You have to live with this. You have to face it. You have to see the destruction your choices have caused. My son's voice quivered. Mama, I'm sorry. I should have fought for you. You should have, I said. And now, you will see what it means when a mother is pushed too far. When love is ignored. When betrayal is rewarded with silence. I stood slowly, letting the weight of my presence fill the room. The mother-in-law shrank back. The bride clutched her hands. My son stared at me, heartbroken. And I realized emotional turmoil is a weapon. Not because it destroys, but because it reveals. It shows the lies, the manipulations, the weakness, the fear. And tonight, the turmoil had only begun. I walked toward the window, looking at the city lights outside. Remember this, I said softly. This is the moment you remember the mother you underestimated. The woman you tried to erase. The woman who never gave up even when you did. Tears fell silently down my face, not of sorrow, but of righteous fury, because some lessons cannot be taught gently, some truths cannot be ignored, and some mothers cannot be betrayed. Confessions have a weight. They sit in the air, heavy, pressing, unavoidable. And when spoken aloud, they either free you or destroy you. I arrived at the hotel the next morning. The lobby felt different this time. Quieter, tense, expectant. It was as if the building itself knew something was coming. My son was pacing again, but this time, slower. His face pale, his eyes haunted. The bride sat silently on the couch, her hands folded in her lap, staring at the floor. Her mother, well, her fury had given way to something darker, fear. I walked in slowly, letting my presence fill the room. Good morning, I said softly, voice calm but deliberate. They all looked at me, every eye fixed on me. The weight of what I carried and what they feared was palpable. Her mother finally spoke, voice trembling. You can't keep doing this. I tilted my head. Doing what? I asked. You're destroying everything we've built. I smiled faintly, almost sadly. Destroying? No. I'm revealing. I'm exposing. And what you call destruction is simply the truth finally being seen. My son swallowed hard. Mama, please not here. Not in front of everyone. I shook my head. No. Not in front of everyone. No. They need to see. They need to understand. You, your bride, your mother-in-law, you need to feel the consequences of your choices. The bride's voice cracked. Mama, we didn't know. I raised a hand. Silence fell. You didn't know. I echoed. You didn't know that betrayal has consequences? That theft, lies, manipulation, they do not disappear. Tears rolled down my cheeks. But these weren't tears of weakness. They were proof. Proof of love ignored. Proof of patience taken for granted. You think you can erase me, I said, voice low and cutting. You think because you manipulated and humiliated, because you took what was mine, I would remain silent. Her mother shrieked. You'll pay for this. I laughed softly. Pay. I already have. I paid with patience, with sleepless nights, with love ignored. And now it's your turn. I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope, the one that held my darkest secret, the one I had carried for decades. I set it on the table. All eyes turned. A hush fell over the room. This, I said, voice low but firm, is everything you tried to use against us, everything you tried to twist. And now it's time for the truth. My son's hands trembled. Mama, don't, he whispered. I opened the envelope slowly, deliberately. Inside were letters, documents, photographs, proof of my choices, my sacrifices, my warnings, my life. I held each piece up for them to see. Her mother gasped. The bride began to cry. My son's face went pale. You think this is about money? I asked. No, this is about love ignored, about patience taken for granted, About betrayal rewarded with silence. I laid everything on the table, letting them absorb it. The evidence was clear, undeniable. Her mother's hands shook. You can't, she stammered. I leaned forward, voice low and cutting. Yes, I can, and I have. You stole from us, humiliated us, and tried to erase me. But the truth is stronger than lies, stronger than manipulation, stronger than fear. My son whispered, tears streaming, Mama, I should have known. I should have stopped her. I should have. You should have, I interrupted. And now you will witness the consequences of silence, of betrayal, of cowardice. The bride sobbed quietly. I didn't know, she whispered. I shook my head. Don't tell me you didn't know. You knew. You felt it. You participated. And now you see the cost. Her mother slumped into a chair, defeated. I never thought, she muttered. I leaned closer. You never thought? Never thought that a mother's love, ignored, could become action? That silence taken for granted could turn into power. Tears ran down my face, but my voice remained steady. I am that mother. I am that force. And today you see it. My son buried his face in his hands. I am sorry. I failed you, he whispered. You failed yourself, I replied. You failed the love that built you. And now you must live with that. The room was silent, the weight of truth pressing down on everyone. Then softly I added, confessions aren't easy. They aren't clean. They aren't gentle. But they are necessary. And now it is time for you to confess. To yourself. To the world. To me. Her mother's hands trembled. I didn't mean to, she whispered. You did, I said. And now you must face it. The bride's voice cracked. Mama. I want to make it right. You can try, I said softly. But the truth once revealed cannot be erased. Once the heart is shown its betrayal, it never forgets. My son looked at me, pleading. Mama, please, what do we do? I leaned back, eyes sharp. You survive, I said. You learn. You act. And you never, ever betray love again. The room was quiet, everyone absorbing the weight of their actions. And I realized emotional turmoil is not just pain. It is revelation. It is awakening. It is the force that forces change, growth, and understanding. I stood slowly, letting the silence stretch. Remember this moment, I said softly. Remember the mother you underestimated. Remember the love you tried to erase. And remember the consequences of betrayal. And in that silence, I knew the family had been shattered. Not physically, but emotionally. Not by me, but by the truth. And the storm was far from over. Resolution doesn't arrive quietly. It crashes. It screams. And it always tests the limits of love, patience, and courage. The morning after the confessions, the house felt different. Not quiet. Not peaceful. But raw. Exposed. The air thick with tension, unspoken apologies, and regret that stung sharper than any words. I walked into the living room slowly. The sun filtered through half-drawn curtains, highlighting the dust in the corners and the remnants of chaos from the night before. My son sat on the sofa, head bowed, hands clasped. His bride lingered near the doorway, hesitant. Her mother avoided my gaze entirely. I took a deep breath. Morning, I said softly. They flinched. Morning, Mama, my son replied quietly, voice breaking. I nodded. Sit, I said. We need to talk. They hesitated, but slowly, carefully they obeyed. I sat across from them, letting my presence fill the room. Yesterday was necessary, I began. It was painful. It was humiliating, but necessary. The mother-in-law crossed her arms. Necessary? You humiliated us in front of everyone. I looked at her calmly. No, I reminded you of truth. That is different from humiliation. You humiliated yourselves when you betrayed your family. My actions only reflected your choices. Her daughter whispered, timidly. Mama, please, can we start over? Can we fix this? I tilted my head. Fix this, I repeated. Do you understand what you're asking? My son looked up at me, tears in his eyes. Mama, we know we were wrong. I want to make it right. I studied him carefully. The boy who once clung to me in fear, now a man trying to reclaim lost honor. But could he? Would he? Making it right, I said softly, does not mean words. It means action. It means acknowledgement. It means facing consequences. Are you ready for that? His hands trembled. I think so. Think. I asked, voice firm. You either are or you're not. There is no room for hesitation when trust is broken. The room fell silent, the tension thick, the weight of yesterday's revelations pressing down. Finally, the mother-in-law spoke. I suppose, I can apologize for manipulating, for lying. I leaned forward. Suppose is not enough. Actions speak louder than words. What will you do to make amends? She faltered. I don't know. I shook my head slowly. Then perhaps you are not ready. Perhaps you never will be. Her daughter looked down, voice quivering. Mama, please. I can help. I'll do whatever it takes. I studied her. The tears, the sincerity, the fear. Actions, I said again. Not promises. Not apologies. Actions. Otherwise, the past will repeat itself. My son's voice broke the silence. Mama, what about the money? The wedding funds? I looked at him carefully. You want restitution? I asked. He nodded. Yes, Mama. I smiled faintly. Restitution is more than returning money. It is recognition, accountability, and a demonstration that you understand the consequences of betrayal. The mother-in-law gasped. You want more than money? I shook my head. Yes, I want respect. I want honesty. I want trust rebuilt. And that cannot be done overnight. She looked at her daughter. I suppose we can start, she whispered. I nodded slowly. Good. That is the first step. But remember, trust once broken is like glass. Easy to shatter, hard to repair. And once it's broken, the cracks remain visible. My son's hands trembled. Mama, we'll do better. We will. I studied him. His sincerity, his shame, his desperation. Better is relative, I said softly. Redemption is earned, not declared. And every choice you make from now on will determine your place in this family. Silence fell. It was heavy, but it was a different kind of silence, one that hinted at hope and fear. I leaned back, letting the room absorb my words. I am willing to see effort. I am willing to observe sincerity. But do not mistake patience for weakness. Do not mistake kindness for ignorance. I am still the mother you betrayed, and I am still the force you underestimated. Her mother's lips trembled. Do you forgive us? She asked, voice small. I shook my head slowly. Forgiveness is earned, and even then some actions cannot be undone. You must live with the consequences of your choices. The bride looked at me, tears in her eyes. Mama, I will do everything to make it right. I swear it. I nodded faintly. Actions speak louder than words. Let them prove it. Every day, every moment, every decision. That is how you regain trust. That is how you repair the damage. That is how you face me and yourselves with honesty. My son's face crumpled in relief, hope, and fear all at once. Mama, thank you, he whispered. I studied him carefully. Don't thank me yet, I said. The work is only beginning, and you will need to prove every word, every choice, every action. The mother-in-law shifted uncomfortably. I don't know if I can, she admitted. I leaned forward, voice calm but piercing. Then you will remain in the shadow of betrayal, watching the consequences of your own choices. The choice is yours. Always. The room was quiet. The weight of my words hung in the air like a storm about to break. And I knew the resolution would not be easy. The family would struggle. They would fight. They would falter. But they had no choice. Not if they wanted to survive. Not if they wanted redemption. Not if they wanted me. I stood slowly, letting the silence stretch. Today is the beginning, I said softly. Not the end. Today, you face the first steps of truth, action, and accountability. And tomorrow, you will face the consequences of failing to act. My son whispered, barely audible, Mama, we won't fail you. I smiled faintly, a dangerous, calm smile. Watch carefully, I said, because failure has a price, and the next storm will be unlike anything you faced before. I left the room slowly, letting them absorb the tension, the weight, and the truth. Outside, the wind blew softly through the trees, carrying whispers of consequence, justice, and change. And deep inside, I knew the resolution was only beginning, because the real storm, the one that would test everything, was still coming. The night was quiet, too quiet. It always is before a storm. A storm that doesn't just break glass, it shatters hearts. I stood in the doorway of my home, looking at the family gathered in the living room. They were tense, cautious, unsure. Their eyes flicked toward me like moths circling a flame, curious, scared, and aware that whatever came next could not be ignored. I had spent weeks preparing, planning, observing, waiting. Every lie, every betrayal, every stolen penny. They thought it had gone unnoticed. They thought I was powerless. They thought I would remain silent. How wrong they were. I stepped inside and the room fell silent. Even the clock seemed to hold its breath. "Mama," my son began, voice trembling, "please tell us what comes next." I smiled faintly, a dangerous, deliberate smile. "Next," I repeated. "Next is the truth, revealed in ways you cannot ignore. Next is justice. Next is consequences." The mother-in-law shifted nervously, her eyes darting between me and her daughter. You can't," she stammered. I leaned forward, voice low and steady. "Watch me." The first shock came when I revealed the emails, the financial records, the hidden transfers they thought no one would ever see. I placed them on the table, letting the evidence speak for itself. Her mother's face went pale. Her daughter clutched her arm, trembling. My son sank into his chair, head in his hands. "This," I said softly, voice calm but piercing, "is the full extent of your betrayal. Every manipulation, every lie, every penny stolen. And now you will face the consequences." Her mother gasped. You can't," she whispered. "Yes, I can. And I have," I replied. Tears rolled down my cheeks, not of weakness, but of fury, heartbreak, and righteous vindication. "You thought you were untouchable," I said. "You thought you could humiliate me. But humiliation is a two-way street. And tonight, you are learning its full weight." My son looked up at me, eyes wide, voice barely audible. "Mama, please, we're sorry." I shook my head slowly. "Sorry? Sorry doesn't erase the past. Sorry doesn't restore trust. Sorry is only the beginning." And then I revealed the ultimate secret, the one I had carried for decades, the one that would shatter their world completely. "You think the betrayal was only about money?" I asked softly. They looked at me, uncertain, fearful. I opened a small box I had kept hidden. Inside were photographs, letters, and evidence of my son's biological father, proof that he had been more than just absent, proof of the danger I had protected him from all his life. "You were never safe with him," I said quietly. "I lied to you to protect you. I hid him from your life because he would have destroyed everything you love. And now the people you trusted have tried to twist that truth against us." Her mother's eyes widened in disbelief. You knew," she whispered. "I did," I replied. "And now, you see what happens when you betray me, when you humiliate me, when you take from me what I gave freely." The bride gasped. "My God," she whispered. My son leaned forward, voice trembling. "Mama, I never realized." "You realized too late," I said. "And now you face the consequences. Not just of yesterday, not just of betrayal, but of ignoring the truth that has kept you alive." Tension filled the room like smoke in a closed chamber. Everyone waited, breathing cautiously, afraid of what might come next. I walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Lights twinkled innocently, unaware of the storm brewing in this home. "You will rebuild trust," I said quietly. "You will take action to show honesty, respect, and accountability. And you will live with the knowledge that betrayal has a price. The price is not paid with money alone. It is paid with understanding, with action, and with consequences you cannot escape." Her mother's hands trembled. I don't know if I can," she whispered. I turned slowly, eyes sharp. "Then you will remain in the shadow of betrayal, watching, learning, living with what you chose to do. My son's voice broke the silence. Mama will do it. I'll do whatever it takes. I smiled faintly. Actions, not promises. And know this: one wrong move, one lie, one betrayal, and the consequences will be final. The tension was unbearable. The room held its breath, every eye on me. And then the final twist. I placed another envelope on the table, the one they had never seen coming. Inside was proof that one of their allies, someone they trusted implicitly, had been conspiring against them all along. The person they thought would protect them had been manipulating events behind the scenes, feeding information and plotting betrayal. Her mother gasped. My sister," she whispered. I shook my head. "Not just your sister. Someone you never suspected. Someone who thought they were clever. Someone who underestimated me. Someone who will pay the price for their schemes." Shock rippled through the room. My son stared at me, mouth open. His bride's hands trembled. "This isn't over," I said softly. "This story is only beginning. The next move will change everything you thought you knew about trust, family, and betrayal." I left the room slowly, letting the silence hang like a storm cloud. Outside, the wind blew through the trees. The city lights flickered in the distance. And inside, the family sat, stunned, terrified, and aware that nothing would ever be the same. Because some truths, some betrayals, some mothers, cannot be ignored, and some stories are far from over.